Hey guys, this is Aaron and Riverman with BehindTheMaskPresents.com. We're here with best-selling true crime author Corey Mitchell and co-founder of the upcoming Housecore Horror Film Festival with legendary Phil Anselmo. Hi Corey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Is this Todd?
This is Aaron.
This is Aaron. I'm Todd.
Todd and Aaron. I am so confused. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
That's all right, man. No problem.
How y'all doing, man?
We're fantastic, man. I got to tell you, we're so excited for this. I don't think there's enough festivals like this going on. I don't think there are any like this one yet.
I
don't. Well, I don't think there's any either. And I almost say I wish there was, but I guess I don't want any competition for you guys. I'd really just like to see this grow and grow and grow and become better and better. But before we get into that, how long have you known somebody like Phil Anselmo, and what exactly sparked the interest for you guys to throw on an entire festival like this?
Philip and I have known each other officially for about 4.5 years now, and our relationship came about because he was thinking about writing a book of poetry, and I was thinking about doing a book on the Dimebag Darrell shooting. Mm-hmm. And through weird circumstances, a guy I knew at Metal Sucks had a family member that met Philip's aunt at a restaurant. And, they got to talking, and somehow it all came back that we got connected to one another. And then through our conversations between Philip and I, it just became, dude, you've got such an amazing story to tell his whole life. And it was really weird, too, because I was actually a big fan of Pantera before Philip had even joined the band. And so I go back to like Projects in the Jungle, the second album with Terry Glaze on vocals, which I always tell everybody if you put the name Def Leppard on that record, it would have sold 10 million records.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was an awesome record, man. And so, when Philip came aboard about 3 or 4 years later, I was blown away because I'd started getting into more heavy stuff also. I was getting into the whole hair metal phase and even old Pantera, even though people give them shit about being glam metal stuff, they still had an edge to them. It was more of a Van Halen, early Def Leppard, Onto the Night kind of vibe to it, as opposed to Poison Doc and, all that kind of cheeseball hair metal that had come out. Yeah. So anyway, when Philip and I actually met and started talking about all these things, he was blown away by the fact that I was a fan. He thought that was just phenomenal. And then, of course, it turned out we both had a lot of people in the same circles, because I used to do a lot of metal stuff back in Austin, Texas when I was going to college there. I used to do the college gas station metal show for 3 years in the late 80s. I used to book a lot of shows that would come through, like all the big metal touring bands. And I'd also put on a lot of local showcases for Austin bands, for Austin metal bands. And so that's how I got to know guys like Adam from Anchor Watt and Screw and Ministry, and Danny Lohner, who went on to play Nine Inch Nails, and Jason McMaster, who was in Dangerous Toys and Watchtower and all that. So, we had all these, Philip and I had all these similar circles of people that we knew on our own, but he and I actually never crossed paths until years later when he was in Pantera and they were big, and he would come through and play. And so it was just kind of strange. And then once so back to the phone call that we had about writing a book of poetry, and I'm just like, dude, your story is so phenomenal. The story of Pantera is amazing. The things you've done outside of the band are phenomenal. And insane and crazy as well. It's, and you haven't really had a chance to tell your side of the story yet. And, we went back and forth over for several months, whether that was him just trying to feel comfortable with me, and whether he believed that was the route that he should take. And then after several months, he agreed. He's like, fuck yeah, dude, can I curse on your show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh. Just wanted to make sure, man. Sorry, a little late for the test.
Only if you talk in the Phil Anselmo impersonation when you speak as Phil Anselmo.
All right. Well, you got to give me. I drink some water, and I'll do it later, man. So I've got it down pretty good. So
I think I do too.
We might even pull a trick on you guys down at the film festival too, but I'm not saying anything else. So, Corey, God. No, I can't do it. I'm not there yet, man. I'm not there.
We're gonna go head to head. I think I got you beat if that's all you got. But
yeah, That's nothing, man. I've got to work up to it. So
you kind of answered what was going to be my next question, but like I would have guessed that you guys bonded through the realm of horror. And looking at the lineup for this festival, I would have thought, okay, we got the hard edge music. I mean, nothing goes better with extreme film than extreme music. I would have guessed that was Phil's doing, and maybe you were more involved with the other half. But you're just as big of a metalhead.
Oh, dude, I'm the guy they called the narc back in the metal scene back in the day. Back when everybody was skinheads and long hairs, I was the short-haired, frat-looking dude. So I was always the narc, the narc. But the funny thing is that I was always more into the background of the scene. I was more into who did what, who played what, where did this band come from, what was this scene all about. And so I just knew this, and I kind of just absorbed stuff. I have a perfect career as a writer because it's just absorbing everything that you can get your hands on and then spitting it all back out. And so, I would be around all these long-haired or skinheads, and first they didn't trust me, and then they started talking to me about the music, and I knew more about it than they did. And they were like, oh, this guy's all right, man. He's not a fucking narc, And so, I was just a long-time scene person before, and then I started getting involved through the radio show that I did. And then I started a management company where I managed only metal bands in Austin. And then I started an independent record label that was covered Austin and San Antonio region. So since '88, that's when I officially got involved in the music business. And so so that's a quarter of a century of being actually actively involved in it. Whereas probably 5 years before that of just going to every concert that came into town, and that was the metal stuff, and that was the beginning of the hardcore stuff, and these crowds starting to come together and trying to accept one another. So I got to see all of that come to things that everybody now just takes for granted was such a big deal back then. And so to witness all that was really amazing. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to see the Houston scene with bands like Dead Horse, and then the Dallas scene with Gamicide and Sedition and Rigor Mortis, and and it's a funny thing, I didn't know the New Orleans scene, but Philip obviously did, but he also knew the Dallas scene too, and then the Austin scene a little bit. So so it's I'm even though I don't look the part, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore metalhead, and just as I've actually been a horror fanatic longer than I've been a metalhead. So
your business during the week and party on the weekends, I can respect that. You come from a day,
but without the mullet, though.
Without the mullet, I'm 27, so when I was a little one, I'm guilty of getting forced to have mullets around that era. I don't like to admit it.
I'm sorry, man.
It is. Got a rat tail. I never had a rat tail. But
no, seriously, man. It's funny if you go back and you look at my high school pictures. I look for the same, except I have a little bit of gray hair and I've got some circles under my eyes, and that's from having 2 kids. So, it's. I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
Oh, no, I think it's awesome that you come from a day, and I'm not trying to sound like you're a lot older because I come from that day too, but where you had to respect music, you wanted to know where it came from, and people take all that stuff for granted nowadays. I mean, I bet you still buy physical music. Do you not?
I do not, actually. And there's a reason for that. No, I do not. I'm all about Spotify, man. Fuck keeping stacks of shit in my fucking garage, man. I've had every single damn format, from 8-track to cassette to LP to, then we go to Laserdisc and VHS and Beta and all that shit. I'm like, fuck that, man. I need space.
and you're the kind of guy that has no problem just selling all that stuff. I can't. I'm a hoarder.
I know that's you would think that, but actually, I still have a stash of everything that is totally important to me. I've got my Violence LP. I've got the early Anthrax, the old Black Sabbath, the old Led Zeppelin. I've got the Pantera fucking records on vinyl. And they're just taking up space in boxes up in my attic and in my closets, man. So, plus, then I used to have the entire first 200 editions of Fangoria too.
Oh, nice.
With nice little plastic covers and everything too. So, so those are going to stick. But all the all the stuff that I got when I worked at the radio station, and I don't know, it's like the Trickster CDs and the Pretty Boy Floyd CDs. Those have gone by the wayside, and some fool bought it on eBay 50 years ago. So, or 10 years ago.
Even the stuff I don't like, I'm so weird about like collecting things. I still have my first cassettes I ever bought when I was like 4 or 5 at a garage sale. It was Kill 'Em All on cassette. And Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel. Which one of those do I listen to more? You can guess. But I still have them both.
That's awesome, man. Hey,
it was.
And hopefully you didn't lose that desire for a little Bobby Brown every now and then. I mean, for me, it was Prince or Roger and Zapp that would kind of, satiate my blues vibe that I needed to have, or my R&B vibe. But Kill 'Em All, and I'm glad you said Kill 'Em All, and not like the Black Album. So,
no, I'm not gonna diss the Black Album, but I got to be honest, the first one was my first album. Black Album was fine too, and I do listen to Prince. I bust out the Assless Chaps on occasion, and listen to a little sexy motherfucker every now and again. Bobby Brown, when I'm feeling like when I'm a little lonely, and you got to put the candles on and listen to a little Tenderoni. No shame.
Man, I'm straight as can be. I'm all excited just listening to you.
And I could talk about music all day long. I think if Riverman in here, or that's Todd, if we were on Jeopardy, he would probably take home the horror categories, and I would totally take home the music categories. But
I lived in LA for a while, and I actually auditioned for Rock and Roll Jeopardy.
Oh yeah.
And you know who the fucking host was?
Yeah, it was Greg Probst. Jeff Probst,
dude.
Right.
So I actually made it past the test taking round, but then I think that again, I think my narcness worked against me, and that A, I didn't have big tits, and B, I didn't act like a complete buffoon on camera, and so all that shit worked against me, man. So and nothing against people that are buffoons or have large breasts,
So I mean, are you saying that if you had big tits, that's all that's keeping you from being an attractive female, or?
Well, it's what prevented me from getting on television.
I remember watching that program, and they used to. I didn't realize they actually had standardized shows of it. I remember the celebrity editions, and I remember Dave Mustaine went on there one time, and I guess he took home the whole enchilada. And that, I mean, for like the next 5 years, that's all he bragged about was he won on Rock and Roll Jeopardy. And my God, you're still the guy that released Risk. Shut up. But no, it's funny. But
Yeah, go ahead, guys. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying I missed that. I would bomb on Jeopardy, but if you kept it all pop culture, I'd rule it. But so
awesome, man.
Yeah, but I could talk about that stuff all day long. I want to talk about movies. Riverman here is itching to talk about some of the films you guys got on the bill.
Yeah, some of my personal favorites actually. You guys are going to be showing a lot of 35mm prints of Necromantic, Shram, a lot of Van Bever stuff, which is always good. And which are they going to be both there at the show too?
We're bringing in 3 special guest directors. The 2 that you just mentioned, York Bucherite, who did the Necromantic films, and Shram, and Derek Tardisking, I never pronounced that right, and Corpse Fucking Art, a fantastic documentary. Those are the films that he's made. We're showing the 2 Necromantic films and Shram. And then we're bringing in Jim Van Bever, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Philip and Jim know each other. I don't know if you know the story, but Philip was actually the one who completed the financing for Van Bever's second film. It used to be called Charlie's Family. Mm-hmm. Most everybody now, for the last 7 years, know it as the Manson Family. And Philip closed out the financing for that film for Jim. He provided music, a couple of different pseudonyms for that film, and then he also was the voice of Satan in that movie. And so, and then I think from that point, I think Van Bever then went on. I know he directed Revolution Is My Name, the Pantera video, and I know he did The Alcoholic on Superjoint Ritual, and I think he did one other Superjoint Ritual music video too for Philip. And then, so Jim will be there. He'll be screening Deadbeat at Dawn. He'll be screening The Manson Family. We're going to at least be doing 3 of his shorts. There's Roadkill, the one that says John Martin, and then My Sweet Satan, which is one of my favorite shorts of all time, and then his brand new short film called Gator Green, which is completely different than all those other films, but it's still got that little weird psychotic Van Bever flavor to it. And then our third special guest is Jose Marins, basically known as Coffin Joe.
Oh yeah, I met Coffin Joe before.
Nice,
great guy.
Yeah, he's coming in from Brazil, and what he told us was that this will be his first appearance, like official appearance in 19 years in Chiller Theater in Jersey, like in the 90s. So we're stoked to bring him in, showing two of Joe flicks, and then he actually also directed we're premiering an anthology called The Profane Exhibit.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Amazing, a lot of amazing directors in it, like Ruggero Deodato did Campbell Holocaust. Richard Stanley did one of my favorite films in Hardware and also Death Devil. Ryan Nicholson, I can't even remember everybody that's involved in. There's such a big list. But Coffin Joe does a segment in the Profane Exhibit as well. So in addition to his two feature films, which one of them is having its 50th year anniversary, so we're really stoked about that. But then he'll also be, coming in for the Profane Exhibit, red carpet, and introducing the film and doing a Q&A afterwards, and all three of the gentlemen are doing that for all of their films. They'll be doing intros and Q&As and everything too. And I know Bootgerite and Van Bever are definitely going to be hanging out the whole weekend.
Nice.
They've already told me. I don't know about Coffin Joe, if he'll just be in there for 1 or 2 days or if he'll be there the whole time. So, they'll be milling around and hanging out and watching the bands and then just enjoying themselves as well. They'll be doing signings and all that kind of stuff too. So
yeah, I saw that you're going to be showing a lot of Grindhouse releasing films too, which I am really excited about. Is like Scum of the Earth. I have never seen that, and I've been wanting to see that forever.
Oh, nice. That's good to hear, man. It's because there's a couple of them that are a little bit more obscure, and we're like, all right, man, we hope somebody's going to walk in there and actually check it out, because that's the whole point, man, is to. We want people to come in and go, man, I want to go see Gwar, but, they're not playing till 11 o'clock on this night, so I'm here at 10 in the morning. Why don't I go check out Scum of the Earth over at the theater? We want something, we want people to take the risk and take a chance and, see something they haven't seen, or go see something you have, but see with a group of people, man. Because, most of this generation now, it's, basically it's been since I was a teenager when the VHS revolution came in, and home video watching is that it's great, man. You get your hands on everything, whether you're watching it on Netflix, or you're downloading it, or you've got it on DVD. But you don't have that communal vibe that you used to get. And even back then, the communal vibe wasn't all that great because. You're going to the local theater and, oh, honey, look, what's Evil Dead 2? So somebody has no clue, and they're just like, oh, this is horrible, I hate it. But, Housecore Horror is the total opposite. It's every single person that's there is going to be into metal or horror or both. And, to have that instant bond with people, that instant communication, you don't have to, explain yourself to anybody why you're there. I still to this day have to explain to my mom why I like, Rumor magazine and Fangoria magazine. She's like, I just don't get it, but she's learning that it's about the artistry of the special effects and everything else.
I've had that talk too. It's all right.
Yeah, so you guys know. I mean, you know what it's like. It's like, okay, I can go and watch these sick ass films and go, thrash out like a maniac to 34 bands. And nobody there is going to be giving me weird looks. You're like, oh, dude, that's disgusting. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it, too. That, I think that's a big part of it, too, is that it's being a festival. It's about meeting people that are like interests and, willing to share their likes and also to kind of get into the minutia of different things. If, this band... like Suffocation sounds nothing like Bloody Hammers, but they're both fucking badass. And, I'm hoping, somebody that may be closed-minded about one kind of music will be open-minded when they see something that may appeal to them, that may not be what they're usually involved or interested in the most. But you know, you never know, man. And that's we definitely are not going to make everybody happy with every choice, but it's about here's a ton of choices. You pick it off the menu, and you have a good time while you're there.
I want to talk about you're going to have a particular screening, and I don't know. I think it's the right title. Is it called "Fuck Remakes"? And
it's not a specific. Well, it's fucking remakes. It's a play on fucking Hostile.
Okay.
And it's pretty much. It's not as that's not the name of the film, but that's just kind of a block of movies.
No, the block of films. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, block of films that we're going to show that have been remade this year, or at least released this year. Like so far on there, we have Maniac and we have
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Yeah.
Well, and the reason why I'm interested in, I brought it up, is actually because we were really, really excited for the Evil Dead reboot, remake, whatever you call it, and we were actually so behind it. We got sold on it, and by the way, we were disappointed in it. But anyway, leading up to it,
I hated it. I fucking hated it.
Yeah, it was horrible.
We really hated it, and but anyway, leading up to it, we felt like we had to eat some crow, because we were actually standing behind it because we got sold on it. We got sold on all the lies. 5 seconds into that thing, it's like, wow, there's totally CGI in this, and there's
Thank you, man. I was writing. I saw the world premiere, or at least the U.S. premiere at South by Southwest, and I was covering for Bloody Disgusting, who I used to do film festival coverage for, and that's the first thing I wrote. I'm like, they've been saying bullshit about, oh, dude, it's no CGI, it's all practical effects. That opening sequence with the little stupid flashback was so fake. Mm-hmm. I mean, immediately, like, all right, they're full of shit. I just got through seeing Bruce Campbell out on the red carpet. He's full of shit, and I love fucking Bruce Campbell. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, don't lie, man. You don't have to lie to your fans.
Well, because the thing is it wasn't an abundance of CGI, and for the most part, it was tastefully done. So it's like, I would have forgiven it, but it's the fact that they were using that as a marketing ploy the whole time. And,
exactly.
And honestly, if it wasn't for that first scene in the fire, it would have been actually really, really tastefully done. And a lot of people probably wouldn't even noticed it because it was such a darkly, casted film and the blood and things. But that fire.
It was such a terrible movie, man. And it was so funny because, and that's the weird thing about film festivals, is that everybody there is a huge film fan, usually. If you're going to spend that kind of money and spend that amount of time, usually you've got people that are film fanatics. Yeah. And so everybody tends to be, less critical because they're all around a bunch of people there to have a great time to see a flick that nobody else has seen. And, it's just the standard. I'd say probably 80% of the theater were not hardcore horror fans like we are. And so it's like, everything was the funniest thing they've ever seen, and everything was the goriest scene they've ever seen.
That is so funny you say that. Obviously it's got a bigger budget these days, and obviously it's following up, 30 years of it being a cult, so it's got more legs, I guess. But and that's kind of cool though that all these people are going to be exposed to something, and 80% of the crowd. They're not going to know the source material, but hopefully they'll go out there and find out, the source material.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's like the fraternity folks, the jock guys, and the kind of people
everybody, whoever, it's like whatever's trendy or popular. Oh man, I've heard Evil Dead's really the cool movie to go see. Well, you saw what happened on the box office. They blew up the first weekend and then it died. Yeah. Right after that.
But that's horror. That's horror movies these days, anyway. I mean, just like
heavy,
but heavy metal.
But this is supposed to be different than just the regular release. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's so great. It's going to be here all summer long, and it died in like 3 weeks.
It's tapped into the casual market. In the casual market, they go to the movies every Friday night, and whatever the blockbuster is the greatest thing they've ever seen up to that point. And the next week
until Saturday, until somebody negatively pooped about it. So
and I went to this theater, and what I didn't understand was everybody was dying laughing at everything, and I didn't understand it because I get it. The first one maybe unintentionally, the second one definitely intentionally shtick. This one was not going for humor. It was going, and everybody was dying laughing at every stupid thing, and it really took me out of any enjoyment I might have gotten out of it. And it was, I didn't understand.
The first movie is really a fucking scare fest. As a matter of fact, that's Philip's favorite horror film of all time is the original Evil Dead. He doesn't like Evil Dead 2. I love Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 is my favorite.
See, Evil Dead 1's my favorite, so it's...
Yeah, and I love both of those. I hate Army of Darkness. Sorry to say that. That's just me, but it just was, I don't need to go into that. But so Philip has just flat out refused to see the remake, and it's not like he and I are not remake snobs, you know what I mean? It's like he really liked the remake, which he really thinks is a prequel of The Thing that came out like a year and a half ago.
Oh, the remake, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, the third one. And so, and then for me, obviously I love The Fly. I think that's one of the best movies. Cronenberg's The Fly is just phenomenal. And, you can go down the list of, a handful of really quality good remakes. So it's not like, all right, I'm going to hate it. I even like I Spit on Your Grave, the remake.
Oh, I like that too. That was great.
We did too. And there's a couple of them out there. As long as they're, doing something a little different, not dishonoring the source material. I Spit on Your Grave is a good one. There was some really cool. I mean, was that the one where they had like the shotgun to the asshole at the end? Or whatever it was.
I've had so many, between writing true crime books, having to watch gore shit all the time, and then watching horror films. I can't even keep track of the body counts, man. I need like a Joe Bob Briggs chart of what decapitations,
what
disembowelments.
3 skulls. Dude, I have been trying to get in touch with Joe Bob Briggs for a long time. That guy ain't answering the phone. I don't know what the deal, because we love Joe Bob. I miss having somebody like that. I miss having Joe Bob on Saturday.
Man. Taking the piss out of the genre, but obviously loving the genre at the same time, man. That's a hard thing to pull off, and he always did it.
I got introduced. God, I got introduced to so many films like Motel Hell or Joe Bob.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Well, and they're remaking that, and they're remaking Poltergeist, and they're fucking remaking Rosemary's Baby, and it's just, come on, guys.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because they're going after these films that, have just sort of a slight underground following that, they're stealing these ideas and they're rehashing. It's not even, there's Poltergeist films, they're doing that. Those are obviously well-established names. But they remade films like Black Christmas and like you said, Maniac and things like this. They're really scraping here. Yeah. And which I'm not saying, not slighting those old movies or not, but I don't know. It really, really explains the drought that we have in Hollywood creativity. But
remakes have been around since movies have been made, so it's nothing new. But it's just, you would think that with all the advances in technology and the advances in education and in writing and this and that people would be able to create additional ideas. And instead of just rehashing what's already been done or proven to be a marketable commodity. And, that's annoying as hell, man. And especially when you're doing it, like you guys said, you're doing a disservice to the original source material. That's when it gets fucking frustrating for me. I could just imagine, Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, directed by Michael Bay. And it's just like, no, you can't do that stuff. You just got to stop, come up with something new and original, and see what happens. And that's one thing which we have not released a ton of the films that we're going to be showing. All we've announced are the Grindhouse releasing films, the Profane exhibit, and then our guest directors and their films. So we have a whole other package, a slew of films that there's probably going to be, I can't give you a definitive count today, but we're probably looking at, between features and short films, about somewhere between 80 and 100.
Oh, wow.
For that weekend. So, when I'm saying, you're going to have a shitload of choices all weekend, and really mean it. And, if you're bored, that's your fault for picking on
How have the independent submissions been going? What do you guys have in store? Well, you guys get a lot of quality?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we're getting at, is that, you don't have to keep making remakes. And that's being proven by these killer submissions we've gotten from people. Indie filmmakers, people doing it totally on their own, out in their backyards, in the woods, in their house, with affordable equipment. And what they are remembering is that horror is actually very difficult to pull off, but there are some basics to it, which is basically you got to have good characters, you got to have a good story, and you got to have some fucking scares. And the way you get those scares is by characterization and by giving a shit about the people that are on the screen. And that doesn't mean you have to like everybody. One of my, which I can tell you now, I want to bring it to this festival. We're trying to close the deal on it. Is another film I saw at South by Southwest called Cheap Thrills. And it's got Sarah Paxton and the dude, I'm drawing a blank right now, but from the Innkeepers, the Ty West movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it's got the two leads from that, and it's a totally different kind of movie, and it's all about four characters, and it says there's only one gore scene, and it's not even gory, it's just there's one bloody scene in the whole movie, and that one bloody scene, when it happens, this is after like an hour of getting to really know these characters, and not one of these characters is likable. I mean, they're all despicable, but you give a shit about them. Mm-hmm. You still would want to hang out with these folks for a night. And when this one particular scene comes up, dude, it was more affecting than anything in the Evil Dead remake. Mm-hmm. And the Evil Dead remake is everybody's like, oh my God, there's the raining blood, and it's so gross, and they're slicing their tongues open and sawing off their arms. I'm like, I can go on my computer and watch dudes get their fucking heads chopped off right now, easily.
It's a desensitized generation. I mean, Hollywood, you got nothing. There's no shock value with anything anymore. I think they're saying, after 1 a.m. you can hear the F word on basic cable. It's ridiculous, and things like that. But
you say that on your show, man. You can say that word on your show.
I could, but it would showcase a lack of creativity. Fuck it all. But no.
Just be pretentious now, man.
No, but what I'm saying is that's why you have these remakes.
I'm just kidding you, man.
That's all good. Let's take the prime example for remakes and this contrast of generation. You take the original Amityville Horror, which I'm a huge fan of. I love the original, even though the story was total bullshit. It's a great work of fiction. Okay, they showed you nothing. They show you nothing. It's a slow burn. Your mind is doing all the work. I mean, all you get to see is a couple of cheesy ass pig eyes in a window and like a what was it, like a projection effect of a pig in a window, and that was it. Right. And then fast forward to the Ryan Reynolds. It was all suspense in that old one. All suspense, man. The theme and the score, which, by the way, the film theme score in horror is dead. I want that to come back. But, okay, fast forward to the new one. I mean,
that's another side that we're trying to do with bringing Goblin in.
And
that'd be awesome,
I'm itching to bring that up. I was going to get to that with the music. And
we'll definitely get to talk about that later, man.
I'm so stoked about that. But,
go on, man. I'm getting into this, so
it's all good. Fast forward to Ryan Reynolds' era, George Lutz, and it was the exact opposite. They showed you all the demons like every 2 seconds, and it was just cheesy from the very first reveal. I mean, and there was no build-up. It was nothing. I mean, in the original...
Yeah, it's so weird, man, because... a part of me, I love that slow burn, build up, and then you're not showing me anything. And then at the same time, if it's done right, if you throw everything at me and it's effective, I'm all for that too. It's like, I don't know if you've ever heard this painter by the name of Joe Coleman.
No.
Okay, have you seen the sketch? The sketch poster for Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's Joe Coleman. That's like Joe Coleman at his most calm and restrained. If you go look him up, dude, his paintings are insane. They're huge. They're so detailed. They're so over the top and gory and disgusting. But it works, because he tells a story within the painting, literally with words, and then with the way that the painting flows. And they're just huge pieces of storytelling, but they can be really disgusting. That works for me, Mm-hmm. But let's go back to the Evil Dead remake. Just because you can cut off arms and make it look realistic and chop off heads and slice open tongues and, crush arms and rip them off under vans or trucks or whatever, I mean, that doesn't mean shit, because, again, like I said, I could go on bestgore.com and watch, a freaking Syrian rebel cut a guy's heart out and fucking eat it on camera. Right there live,
Well, it's the most forgettable gory movie I could say. I mean, it doesn't have those effective moments like let's say Maniac, where Tom Savini gets his head blown off. It doesn't have that.
or just even the slicing of the scalp.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that you feel that pain. You feel that. I mean, for me, one of the most, and this is again, we tend to glorify the films that we saw when we were kids because it just had such an impact. But one of my movies that really just trips me out the most still is the Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill, and that just the Andy Dickinson on the elevator. I mean, sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. And if you haven't watched it, you probably shouldn't be listening to the show anyway. But when that whole cat and mouse scene in the museum for 10 minutes with no words spoken, and you're just totally into it. And then when she actually gets killed, you believe, even though you don't like that character per se, as somebody you would necessarily like, hey, I want to date her. But you buy into what she's up to and what she's doing in this game she's playing. And then when she gets killed, it really affects you.
Yeah.
And then when Nancy Allen's on the elevator and the killer's thinking about stepping on the elevator and wanting to slice her, doesn't know that she's there. And the tension in that was just phenomenal. That's just how you do it. And Cheap Thrills does that stuff throughout the whole movie, man. It's a great flick. It's not a straight up horror film, but it fits perfectly with that that motif of stressing you out and making you tense. I'll give you one here. I'll give you guys an exclusive. We're probably going to announce this in a couple of weeks. And this is not you're going to go, wow, that was his exclusive, but it's amazing because one of the things we want to do with Housecore is expand the parameters of what the definition of horror films actually means. That it's not just Saw, it's not just Hostel, it's not just Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. It could be everything under this category, whether it's bloody or slow burn or leading to your imagination. One of the big films that I'm just amazingly excited about is there's not a single drop of blood in it. There's not a single weapon in it. There's not a single bad guy in it. It's called Charlie Victor Romeo. And I saw it at Sundance this year. Dude, it is the most tense, frightening film I've probably seen in 10 years. And all it is, it's weird. It's based on a play. All it is the retelling of plane crashes from the perspective of the pilots and if there's any what they used to call stewardesses. It's all black box. It's based on black box recordings of these people right before the plane crashed.
Oh, wow.
And it is amazing. I mean, it is the epitome of being fucking scared. And there's no blood in it. And basically it just goes you through that process of what happened, taking real recordings and then turning it, then reenacting it. And then it's great because then they have a crash, right? And it's just, the screen just goes black, and then they wait like 5 seconds, and then they give you, the result. Did anybody survive this crash? Did everybody die on it? What was the cause of the crash? And so you're just on fucking pins and needles. And they did it for like 5 times. And it blows me away. Nobody's heard of it except for when they screened it at Sundance. I don't think it's really screened any time since then. But we're showing it at ours. They're excited because they never thought a horror film festival would contact them to show it, and they're like, "This is fantastic!" And it's even in 3D, so we're going to screen it in 3D.
Wow!
Could you say the name of that film one more time? What was it called?
It's Charlie Victor Romeo.
Charlie Victor Romeo. Three first names.
Let me make sure. It's I saw it in February and January, so it's some kind of code. I can't remember.
And the way you describe it, I mean, to me, I've always really judged a director by, if you can take a film with no budget and not have to rely on a bunch of gore effects and all that stuff, and you can still, with atmosphere and all that, create a really good product like you're talking about and freak you out, that's an amazing director. That's your Stanley Kubricks, and that's all these people. I don't know, that amazes me more, and that film actually sounds right up my alley, and that's why I love films like...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's why I love, I totally consider the original Alien a horror film more than sci-fi. Yeah. And that's head and shoulders my favorite movie of all time. And then after that, probably Hellraiser. I think it's a fantastic story. And Hellraiser was another thing like that, where they didn't show you nothing. You saw the Cenobites at the very, very beginning and the very end. But when those blinds started unfolding and you saw the light and the little melody chime, you were freaked out. You wanted to piss your pants. That was perfect. And then of course the sequel happened, and Hollywood decided they wanted to show you what hell looked like, and it wasn't nearly as scary as what you built up in your own mind. And to me, it was a buzzkill. But yeah, that's why I love stuff like that. And
well, this is, like I said, Charlie Victor Romeo. I mean, and yes, we will have traditional horror films as well, but this is about, like I said, expanding the parameters of. And just think, man, we have already, we put tickets on sale starting in spring, just slow, and we probably already have people coming in from at least 35 states already and about 12 foreign countries. And all these people are flying. And they're going to hate us, man. They're going to fucking hate us.
Oh,
because
man.
They won't want to get back on their plane to leave. They're just going to be stuck. They're going to be stuck in Austin, Texas, because they're going to be shitting their pants. So.
Well, I'm for one glad we booked those donkeys to go. We're just going to ride donkey back. Unless you
there you go, man. You'll fit right in Texas.
But I think this might be a stretch, but I've always looked at filmmaking like music. I mean, to me, they're almost, they intertwine with each other. But filmmaking sometimes I think needs to be like Pink Floyd. The notes David Gilmour played were just as important as the notes he didn't play, and vice versa, and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And like you're talking about, Evil Deads, just because they can sever that head or they can have that arm dangling by a tendon doesn't mean they should do it every second.
Right.
So I don't know. That's how I feel about that.
Again, it's like using it to one of the bands at the festival. It's the band Down, and Jimmy Bauer, the drummer, plays guitar and I Hate God, and he drums for Down. If you listen to Jimmy's drumming patterns, and so much of his skills are about, like you said, what he does to play. He's not having to do 50,000 fills. Make it, dude. Look how technical I am and amazing, and what a masturbatory wanker I am. It's just about those in between beats where he's not doing anything.
No, and
a lot of people don't get that, and they don't understand that. But the more you listen to music and experience it and allow yourself to be overcome by it, then that's when that starts to make sense.
No, man. Bauer, he comes from the old school. You don't have to, you got your Phil Rudds, and I hate to say, I know people dog them, but even like your Lars Ulrichs back in the day, they were simple, man. They got the job done, but they were hard hitters, man. There was no flash, Dude,
Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick. Some of the most, and make it even something a little more mainstream. Ringo Starr with the Beatles.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's like, oh, Ringo sucks. Dude, Ringo's a fucking genius. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get a lot of credit for what he did, but, every musician that ever played with him thinks he's one of the greatest drummers ever. So, it's all about taste, man. But I like a crazy little Neil Peart type thing going on every now and then, too.
It works in all aspects, just like film.
Absolutely.
Rolling into the music side of things, it really seems like you absolutely extracted the entire NOLA scene, which is not a bad thing. You've got everybody from Goat Horror, obviously Down, a couple of the boys in Down pulling double duty. You got Phil doing the solo thing with the Illegals, which, by the way, that shit I've heard is some sporadic shit. I'm excited about that.
You heard the whole album or just a few?
No, I've heard everything that they've released for streaming, and
dude, it's insane. It is. I love it because it's Philip saying, I did that in the past. I'm going to do this now, and I hope you come along for the ride. And if you don't, oh well, you're missing out.
I'll put the brakes on it and talk about that for just a second because I'm a music snob. But the walkthrough exits only, which, by the way, I think the title's brilliant. Even the title's unconventional. It's not mainstream or catchy at all. It makes you think, like, what the hell are we talking about here? You'd have to listen to the product. And then when you hear these songs, I hear people, on the social interwebs and stuff talking about, it sounds like Superjoint. They need to get their ears checked. Because
it sounds nothing like Superjoint.
It is
that cracks me up when I read that.
I got to be honest with you. I'm such a huge Phil Anselmo fan, and pretty much everything major he's done that I probably could have predicted, had a pretty good idea how this was going to sound. And listening to about half of it, I think they've released, it is the most sporadic stop and go time insanity. I mean, it's nothing he does is mainstream, but if there was something that was anti-mainstream of the anti-mainstream he was already doing, it's this. It's not predictable, and I already know it's not going to be for everybody, but it's for me, so that's all I really give a shit about.
And that's how Philip is about it. It makes him fucking happy. It makes him, dude with horrible back surgeries and this and that, jumps up and down like he was 20 years old when he's playing this shit, and that's all he cares about is that it gets him off, and hopefully you like it too, and you come along for that ride, man. So, basically the first time I listened to it with him, I came out of it with bruises because the whole time he sat there, played the whole CD for me, and he punched me every time he was emphasizing the lyrics, dude, in my right bicep. And I'm like, I'm not a small guy, I'm as big as Phil, and I was fucking hurting, man. I kind of like your record, but I also have a lot of bad memories attached to it now, Phil. So thanks a lot, man.
When I first heard, I think it was Conflict that they released, I had the biggest smile on my face streaming that, and I cranked it loud. And there's only one other song, that can actually possess me in my own home. Nobody here, just start thrashing around and like tossing over furniture. And that's always been Sandblasted Skin off the very underrated record. But that had me thrashing about like a lunatic. And if somebody could have seen me through my patio window, they probably would have called the cops, for reports of a struggle. But it put a big smile on my face. It would have. I didn't know. I not that I doubted him, but man, to see him screaming like that, man, he's coughing up a lung. It is aggressive, and it's good to see, that side of it too. Down's amazing.
It's nice too because if you go online right now, Down is in Europe right now doing all the festivals this summer, and Phil is just on fire, dude. And I think the reason for that is because as soon as he gets done with that, he's going to come right back around, release the solo record, and then go out on tour on that. And so, he's been, the Down sound is obviously a lot different than the Pantera sound, the Superjoint sound, the Viking Crown sound, and now the Illegals. And, so he's obviously been focusing on getting ready for Down and getting ready for the Illegals tours. And totally different styles of voice, different ways of using your diaphragm, your throat, everything that you do. But if you listen to him singing right now on what's Down tour, dude, he sounds heavy as shit.
I bet he does. I actually this probably coincided well enough too because I saw him in West Hollywood a few months back, or actually in January I think it was, and they killed it. They were at it wasn't the Whiskey. I don't know where it was at. The Key Club.
Right,
and it was insane. And I've seen Down 3 times, and they always sound best in the smallest, dankiest little club you can get. I've seen them open for Metallica too, and that's not going to service a band like Down. Right. But man, he was just on fire, and I wasn't expecting it. So, whatever's keeping those chops up, I'm stoked though to see him at the old Housecore, and hopefully double duty. I wonder if that would throw him off going from.
No, he is doing double duty, so it'll be a night off in between. So he'll be doing one on Friday and the other on Sunday.
Way to go! Way to go, resurrecting Crowbar too. I haven't seen them active in a while though. I'm stoked to see Crowbar.
They've been around, man.
Maybe I'm out of the loop, but I haven't seen Crowbar touring or being too active lately, especially with his projects, Kirk Winstein's projects with Jamie Jost and all that stuff. But anyway, I'm stoked to see him nonetheless. And
well, Pat is
the bass
also
player
in Down too. So
absolutely,
he's doing double duty on there as well. So let's see, Philip's doing double duty, Pat's doing double duty, Kirk's doing double duty, Jimmy's doing double duty with I Hate God. Let's see, we've got Blue, who drums for Warbeast and for Philip and the Illegals. We've got a cat who is in a band called Death Will Tremble, and is now the new singer for Screw. So he's going to be doing double duty. So it'll be fun, man, to watch these guys really bleed out on the stage for their fans and make it happen twice. So,
which leads me to my next inquiry. So, how close are we on closing the deal for Corrosion of Conformity? Not at all.
For COC?
Yeah. You guys,
dude, I love it. This is funny, man. I love COC, but I love Animosity COC. Pre-Pepper.
Pre-Pepper.
I think Pepper and Post Pepper is great. But for me, nothing beats Animosity, man. 1985 hardcore.
Killer.
The 3-piece. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's killer, man. And what they're doing now is the three-piece is killer. I just thought, hey, I'd be cool, man. Pepper would probably join him on stage. And I thought In the Arms of God was one of the best albums of the last decade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
And personally. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know any of the specifics behind that situation at all. I do know that a couple, I think Woody and I don't know if it was Mike Dean, joined down in Europe. Just recently, like within the last month or two, that they did Very Mean Smoke with at least two of the CLC guys. And but yeah, as far as no, that ain't gonna happen for Housecore Horror Film Festival. There's nothing bad there. It's not meant to be this year. So
hey, maybe next year. Are you guys wanting to try and shoot for an annual thing? By the way.
Absolutely, man. It's strictly, there's really only two things that we have to satisfy. One is putting on a badass party for everybody, and then two, making sure that we don't go broke doing it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And those are really the determining factors on this, because we want to do it. We got to get people to come out to see it, obviously. That's how we were able to fund everybody. And, with 34 bands and 80 to 100 movies, and a whole slew of other things going on. It's not cheap, but we're actually doing very well. We're on our way to making it financially feasible. Mm-hmm. And, if anything, obviously, annual events would be fantastic. I'd love to expand if it continues to do well. We already have, been looking and talking about some different locations in the future that are a little bit larger, and not so much large as in quantity of people, but just the ability to have more things going on in the same area. Then we've had once we started talking about it publicly, just had a ton of people that actually want Phil to take it out on the road and turning into a touring machine and all that. But, that's probably not going to happen. There's already been the Ozfest in the past, but this is more about a destination point weekend for people,
and that's the special aspect of it. I think it's great. You guys, having that one weekend a year to look forward to. I don't know. I think on the road might. And
always the weekend before Halloween, man. That's the intention. Is that whether it's on Halloween or it's the weekend right before? Because I don't know if you guys have ever been to Austin, but Halloween in Austin, Austin's got a million killer things to do. But one of the weakest things that everybody thinks is great in Austin is Halloween. And what happens on Halloween is there's a place in Austin, it's basically where everybody meets. It's called 6th Street. And there's 30 clubs on there. There's 5 bands a night in each of those clubs. It's just constantly entertainment. And on Halloween, all they do, everybody goes out there, dresses up in costumes, gets drunk, and then walk around in circles for like 4 hours. And usually, there's literally about 100,000 people there.
Wow.
It's vomit and fights. That's pretty much what you get, when you do Halloween on 6th Street. And I graduated from there. So, I've been doing, I went to that for a million times, and I just got bored with it. I was just like, this is just stupid, and it's, I want to really enjoy Halloween. And it was cool to walk around and see people in costumes. That was the best part. But there was there were no metal shows going on there. There were no horror-themed movies being screened there. There's nothing horror-related other than people dressing up. So we're like, well, fuck it. Let's do all those things and then invite all those people that like to dress up if they want. And they can come out here and do the same thing with all like-minded people, not just people going out. Again, it's the trendy thing, let's go out where everybody else is. That's not what this is about. This is about, if you're into metal, you're into horror, come here and have fun, be yourself. So.
Well, tell the listeners real quick where they can go and get tickets and more information and everything.
If you go to housecorehorrorfilmfestival.com, you'll see we use Eventbrite as our ticket sellers, and we have little drop down tags you can use. Attend HHFF, which is Housecore Horror Film Festival, or you just click on the Eventbrite logo, the big orange obnoxious logo. It'll take you to the various options we have to purchase badges or wristbands. And that's it. It's pretty simple, really. So
you guys sold out of the VIP tickets, right? So you guys are doing something right.
We did. Yeah, we did. We did it a different way. Most film festivals and music fests we'll sell VIP tickets at an exorbitant fee, and really bring people over the coals. We did it in a different way. We decided that we're just going to tell people we're putting on this party, and we want to reward those people who are taking a chance with us by, hey, we're going to do this thing. We're going to put metal and music together. We're going to have some haunted stuff going on. And Phil Anselmo is throwing this party. Are you guys into this? And didn't tell them who the bands were. Didn't tell them what the films were. And, just put it out there, and people started buying them. And we actually had them at lower prices. And it was just our way of thanking people for taking a risk on us, to do this. And so, over time, then we're like, okay, and by the way, Down's playing, I Hate God's playing, Crowbar's playing, Philip and the Illegals, his first Texas solo date, will be there, and Warbeast. So that's all we told them. And then, a little while later, then we said, we're bringing in Jim Van Bever and York Budka, right? And then it was like, okay, we're bringing in Goblin, and they're going to live score Suspiria. And then we waited like another 2 months, and we said, by the way, here's 34 bands. And that includes Guar and Suffocation. And
which will be insane.
Yeah, and so, it was just, the price has gone up, but we wanted to reward people in the beginning for just taking a risk that it was Philip.
Absolutely. I was stoked. I was stoked the second they announced it, before any bands were lined up or any of that stuff. So, I have friends that were also stoked. So, that's really cool that you guys did that. And I really do hope people dress up. So that is an open invitation.
We've already had people sending in their pictures of what they're designing for their
I was curious about that, it being the weekend of Halloween. That'll be nuts. I don't know what to go as. Riverman, are you going to go as a sleazeball like you do every year?
We'll see.
What does that just mean? He rolls out of bed?
He just rolls out of bed. Doesn't brush his teeth. I don't want to jump the gun there, because I want to talk about really quick before, I know I don't want to keep you, but the biggest thing for me, honestly, is Goblin.
You can ask me questions as long as you want, man.
Dude, Goblin is the most exciting thing for me, because, as much as I love these bands and as much as I love some of these films, I have a lot of opportunities to catch Phil on the road pounding it out. Goblin, how'd you guys get them to the States, man? And for them to live score, I don't know if Riverman, I don't know if you knew about this, but they're going to live score Suspiria.
Oh, really?
Well, they're actually doing 2 nights. They're going to do the live score for Suspiria, which that will actually be our closing event for the whole festival. And then, but on Friday night, they are going to be doing a concert. And what that entails is them playing live. They'll have the full-blown movie screen behind them, and they're pretty much going to be playing all songs from the scores from the sorry about that. They're playing all scores from their horror films. So it's like Dawn of the Dead, Sleepless, Tenebrae, Deep Red. You can just go down the list.
And they're fantastic. The Dawn of the Dead theme is arguably my favorite theme of all time. There's just so much nostalgia that goes with it. So, I'm so excited to hear that in the backdrop. Might be second behind Return of the Living Dead theme. I can get stones thrown at me if you for that. But I love that theme. But no,
I like the Day of the Dead stuff too.
Yeah, Day of the Dead's great,
man. And if you I don't know if you guys listen to Boards of Canada. A little ambient band that's been around for 20 years. They just released their first album, their newest album. It's been 8 years since their last one. They pay homage to Romero's Day of the Dead throughout that whole record, man. It's phenomenal. And only if you're into Romero would you even know that. But anyway, that's an aside. We could do those asides all day. But Goblin, man, how did that come about? It was David Bond, the producer and creator for the Profane exhibit. He and I have been talking about, we wanted to bring his film in for the U.S. premiere. And obviously, if you know anything about the Profane exhibit, in addition to all these named directors, there's also a lot of music people who do the scores for each of those short films within there. And like Kevin Key from Skinny Puppy, the guys from Mayhem, one of the girls from Gallhammer. I can't even remember. I have to pull the list up of everybody. And then one of the composers is Maurizio Guarini from Goblin. And it was funny because like 2 weeks before, Phil and I were just like, man, we want to bring something really fucking cool in. And we're like, wouldn't it be great, man, if we could bring Goblin in? And show Suspiria and have them play it. And we were just totally fantasizing, right? And then 2 weeks later, I'm talking to David Bond, and we're talking about everybody involved in the movie and the musicians. And, I see that Maurizio is one of the composers. And I'm like, do you know Maurizio? He's like, well, of course, he's in my movie. Like, dumbass. And I'm like, can you hook me up with him? Because me and Phil would really fucking love to bring Goblin to the United States to do this. It would just make the festival phenomenal. I mean, it doesn't even matter. That was kind of, Philip and I were like, yeah, it'll never happen, but let's try it anyway. And dude, within like a day, Maurizio and I are Facebooking, and we're like, this is what we want to do. We want you guys to come down here. We want you to screen, Suspiria and play it, and we'd love for you to do a concert also. Would you be up for this? Like, this is great, because there's all these different iterations of Goblin throughout the years, whether it's Maurizio and Claudio Simonetti and Massimo Morante, the three main guys from 75 and on. Or sometimes it was just Maurizio and some guys from Canada, or it was, Claudio and Maurizio as Goblin Keys. There's all these different variations of the band. And, the Goblin has actually played in the U.S. one time. They played in New York a few years ago. Excuse me. But it was one of those smaller variations. It was only like Maurizio and then his Canadian touring musicians. And they played one show as a concert. So we're like, all right, well, we can't say it's the U.S. premiere of Goblin, but it is the North American premiere of Goblin's live scoring Suspiria.
Well, I heard them today giving a shout out to you guys, saying that they actually announced a mini tour, and it's going to lead up to the Housecore being the finale of that tour.
Yeah,
they were giving you guys full credit.
Yeah, which is phenomenal, and we're so glad that they get this opportunity. I mean, yeah, obviously we want everybody to come down to Austin to see them, but the fact now that they're going to be doing the coasts for people that can't come to Housecore is great, man. I mean, it's just such a great band, just amazing musicians, super nice cats, they deserve to be exposed to America properly.
I sure hope they're taking advantage of merchandise opportunities, because they got my money for a shirt.
Yeah, I think they're doing like a tour only CD also, that they're doing like a tour EP or something like that too. And yeah, they've got a ton of merchandise. That'll be great. So, but Maurizio and I have been talking, and this is something funny. We were actually trying to make a tour with Philip and the Illegals and Goblin. But we just couldn't get all the details worked out, because he's got the down stuff still that's happening and all that. And they wanted to do it, and Philip wanted to do it. It was just going to be amazing, and that's the whole point. It's like, sonically, it doesn't sound like the Illegals, but it's about the attitude. And Goblin basically is an extreme form of music for people. It's not Slayer, it's not Cryptic Slaughter, it's not thrash, this and that, but it's the ability to create a creepy vibe, to scare the crap out of people just with your music, and get your heart racing. I mean, that's a form of extreme music, and that's
Absolutely.
Why we brought the Housecore. And so we're that close to making it Philip and Goblin on a U.S. tour leading up to it, but didn't work out. So then luckily they were able to still continue on and do this headline stuff, and we just think that's kick-ass. And you're right, they're giving us full credit for bringing the matter to the States, and getting everybody really excited about the band too. So we're really grateful for their gratefulness. So.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, man, I think you guys are going to have a pretty solid debut year. It sounds pretty exciting, and I can't thank you enough for giving us the time, man.
Thank you so much.
I know you're a busy dude, man. You're like a man of like every hat on the planet.
Sleeping is completely overrated, dude. That's all I gotta say.
I could imagine talking to you 7 days a week and totally on a different topic each of those days. So you're definitely a man of your craft, and we appreciate you greatly, man.
Yeah,
so
thank you so much.
It's very, very kind words for you guys to say, and Philip and I are so excited, and I'd be remiss to not mention one of our associates, Tammy Moore, who is really done a bang up job with getting all the bands bands lined up for all this stuff too. She's, just as much a part of this as Philip. Philip is Philip, of course, and then I've got a name because I write books, and Tammy is a name in Austin, and she's our hands-on person there, and treats these bands and musicians like gods, and takes care of them, and just all about putting on a kick-ass show. So
is she going to be on site at the event?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't miss her, man. You can't miss her.
I look forward to meeting all you guys and talking to those big time players that are behind the scenes too. Those guys are more important, absolutely.
Thank you very much for your interest in Housecore Horror Film Festival.
And what's that? I like to make friends, not associates. That's my motto. But what was that weekend? Let's pitch that weekend. The weekend before Halloween. So what dates does that fall on again?
Yeah, weekend before Halloween, October 24th through October 27th in Austin, Texas. HousecoreHorrorFilmFestival.com. And we're constantly updating stuff on Facebook and on the website. Just little dribs and drabs as we get to it. Like I said, we still haven't even announced the bulk of the films yet. So we'll be looking forward to that over the next couple of months. And we'll probably be having a few celebrity judges judging the films. We're doing the Rotskers, which is our version of the Oscars, but with an Eddie-like Oscar award to be handing out, Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And but we're doing it differently. We're not doing a cheeseball show. We're actually doing it on the last night in between the bands. So that way these filmmakers can be there in front of 1,600 people.
Absolutely.
So, give them
well, you guys heard it all here first, man. Go out and support these guys, and we hope to see you all at Housecore Horror Festival as well. Thank you guys very much.